Hey everybody, it's Angela Marie again, back with another budget-friendly craft. I'm going to do the Dave Austin or the Cabbage Rose, and a lot of requests I've had for red, and we're going to do red this time. So stay tuned if you like this video. I hope you try this easy, budget-friendly, all-occasion project and enjoy it. You're going to need scissors, coffee filters, school glue because it's washable, red glitter, I got mine from the Dollar Tree, this is optional, glossy Mod Podge, red color of your choice, and a green. I chose candy apple red. You're also going to need a lighter green for the underside of the leaves, red food coloring, vinegar, twigs from outside, and if you don't have them you can use skewers from the Dollar Tree, a blow dryer, which is my favorite drying option for coffee filters, tap water and paper towels for cleanup, rubber gloves, 2 containers. Now let's get started. To make about 5 flowers and 20 berries, I'm going to use 3/4 cups of water, 2 tablespoons of red paint, 1 teaspoon of red food coloring, and 1 tablespoon of vinegar, and I'm going to mix it well. Once we're done mixing, we're going to completely submerge our coffee filters and leave them soaking for about 10 minutes. And we're going to bring them out so they won't drip, and we're going to blow dry them. And then we're going to resubmerge them again overnight or at least 6 hours. Make sure before that second soak of 6 hours that you completely submerge and distribute the color through squeezing it and redipping it and squeezing it and redipping it to make sure everything is saturated. Once everything is saturated and has soaked for at least 6 hours, we're going to wring it out again so that it doesn't drip, and we're going to use a blow dryer to dry it. Make sure you separate the layers because they will stick together. Before you blow dry it, separate the layers, and this is what we're going to have. Now the lighter color is the first dip of 10 minutes, and the darker color is our overnight or 6-hour submerge. Ideally, the color will be nice and even, but there's a few things that can actually happen if it is not completely submerged. There's a pooling effect where you get dark spots on some of the filters or some spots in the filters. So here we have a demonstration of what all can happen. The 2 dips is a nice even deep color. The 1 dip is kind of a lighter color, and the pooling happens when we do the 2 dips, but we let the coffee filters dry above water. Now we're going to mix the lighter green paint and the water, and we're going to completely submerge some of those filters in there. I did do a lot in advance so that we could speed it up for the video purposes, but this is a lighter color. You do the same thing with the darker color, only it's a darker color. We're also going to let that soak for 10 minutes before we dry it. As you can see, this is a lighter color, but there is a little bit of pooling around the edges, but to me it makes it look more natural and I actually like it. Here's a more drastic example of pooling, but again, it makes it look like things in nature, which don't look perfect. Now we're going to apply some school glue to the filters and glue a lighter one and a darker one together to get the top and the bottom side of the leaf. School glue, in my opinion, is the easiest cleanup, and it's only coffee filter, so we don't need a lot of strength. And if you don't completely overlap or let the edges meet, it's okay because you can still use it, just cut that part off. Now we're going to apply a good amount of Mod Podge to the darker side of the leaf or the top side of the leaf to give it a nice shine. Want to be generous and make sure that we keep it flat as possible and evenly distribute the Mod Podge before we blow dry it. Now we're going to try and keep it as flat as possible and blow dry it completely so that the coffee filter stiffens up and the Mod Podge is nice and shiny. This is the difference between with and without the Mod Podge. You can't see the variations as much after you apply the Mod Podge. Now we're going to cut it in half, and we're going to cut 1 1/4 inch pie shaped strips, and we're going to give the bottom a stem shape, and we're going to round the top off to a point to simulate the leaves. Now fold it in half and fold each side upward at an angle like an accordion shape to simulate the veins in the leaf. Apply a bead of glue to the stem and wrap it around a 6 to 12 inch piece of wire starting at the tip. Make sure that you try and cover the end of the wire, but we're going to go back in with floral tape. Now we're going to cut a 1/2 inch strip of a light green coffee filter and wind it around starting at the end of the leaf all the way to the end of the wire to make a floral tape and cover the wire and simulate a stem. Once you're done wrapping, go back to the top and make sure that everything is wound nice and tight. Here's an example of the different greens that I tried for the leaves, and I chose this darker green because I thought it might work better with the red. And here's the underside. See how nice and natural that looks? Instead of a nice, even, solid, perfect color that does not happen in nature. To make our flower, I have a stem of whatever size you choose and 20 coffee filters. Before we use our coffee filters, I just want to make sure that there's no creasing on the ends. Sometimes that happens during the blow drying process. We're going to need a total of 10 coffee filters for the first phase of our flower, but I'm going to cut them 3 at a time, basically the same shape for all 10, but the way we cut it will be slightly different. We're going to fold our filters in half, and then we're going to slightly scallop the edges all the way around the first half of the coffee filter. Then we're going to fold it in half and cut out a 3/4 inch point off the end of the flower. Open it back up, and then we're going to make another cut. We're going to cut that one in 2 places in half. Then we're going to apply a bead of glue for our first section of the flower and roll it into a 3/4 inch cone. While we're rolling this cone, we're going to try and keep it as even at the bottom as possible. It's okay if the top is not even, but the bottom must be pretty close. See how the lengths of the top of the petal vary? That's what we want. Then we're going to smooth the bottom into a point. Now we're going to take another one of our hats, apply a bead of glue at the bottom, and we're going to roll it into a 1 inch cone. I'm just going to lay my previous cone in the center of that. I would like to have about an 1/8 to a 1/6 of an inch overlay on the side, just so that we can proceed to the next step accurately. Now we're going to glue those together at the edges of both filters. We're going to try and make sure that everything is glued down and that we make sure our edges line up. It's not so much the center of the petals, but the edges need to be lined up. Now we're going to take that whole petal and put a bead of glue on the center of the inner line of the petal and we're going to wind that up into a 1.5 inch cone. Next, we're going to take our 2 previous layers and glue them again, meeting the ends on the both outer edges. Not so much the center yet. After we do line up the outer edges, then bring the centers to meet in the middle. If you have any overlap, you want to try and kind of go to the shorter side and press it together almost in a crease in the middle so that you can make kind of a teardrop shape. Make sure both sides are lined up completely. You're going to make 5 of those. Glue those 5 together, point to point, all the way around in a circle until they're shaped like a flower. Once you have 5 of them, you're going to take a twig and you're going to make it to the size that you want it by cutting it or breaking it. I recommend cutting it or breaking it and cleaning up the ends. And then we're going to make sure that after we've made sure all the ends are all nice and neat so that they're stable, we're going to take the 5 petals that we glued together, cut them down from the end by about, or the point by about 1 inch, and place the stick inside. The stick, notice I put some glue on it, but notice that I did not let the glue on the petals completely dry so that I could insert the stick. I want everything to be nice and stable, but holding it together with the glue before it's completely done to put the stick in helps it to stay more stable so that I won't ruin the shape of it when I place the stick inside. So once I place the stick inside, I'm going to squeeze the bottom edges around the stick to make it be nice and firm. And then I'm going to take a coffee filter and I'm going to cut it in 1 inch strips and apply glue. And I'm going to use that to wrap around the base of the flower and to better attach it to the stick. Nice and smooth, nice and tight. Once I've done that, I'm going to take 1 coffee filter and I'm going to fold it in half, and I'm going to scallop the edges as I did previously after folding it twice, and I'm going to cut about 3/4 inch center out of the center. And we're going to need 2 filters for this, but I'm going to show you the difference between what I do with one and what I do with the second one. So we're scalloping the edges and we're going to make it similar to all the other filters that we cut. And again, we're using halves. So I folded the second one in half, but I'm only going to cut 1 slit. I want to show you the difference between wrapping a half filter and whole filter. Now, we're going to use the center as a guideline for the base of the flower. But when we wrap the 1 single filter without cutting it in half, it rolls higher or the direction changes quickly, and we're not able to control the bunching and folding, and maybe even be very difficult to place it where we want without having to squeeze the filters at the bottom, which opens the flower up at the top. We want it to stay nice and tight, so that's why we're going to use a singular filter, because we don't want to have a lot of problems at the top and the bottom. So when we take a half filter, we can line it up at top and line it up at bottom, and it stays fairly smooth, at least smooth enough so that we can straighten out the wrinkle without changing the shape or the direction of the flower. So now we're going to take a single half, apply a bead of glue along the bottom line and try and keep it lined up both at the top and the bottom. It can overlap slightly at the top. We do want to use that, so just maybe about 1/8 inch to make sure everything's smooth. We're going to repeat that with 4 halves or 2 coffee filters, cut in half. And this is what it should look like. Now we're going to take 3 coffee filters, line up the edges, fold them in half, once and go scallop around the edges, and then we're going to cut a hole in the center, folding it the second time. After we fold it in half again, we're going to cut a 3/4 inch hole in the center and cut one slit. This time we're going to use a whole wrap because we do want this part of the flower to be a little bit fuller. Also, we're going to maybe do a little bit more bunching it at the bottom, giving a little bit room. So you're just going to wrap it, keep the first part flat, and then we're going to slightly let it open up as we add petals. We'll add 3 in the first phase and 3 in the second phase. Make sure to smooth it down at the base. See how it's starting to open up a little bit at the top? A little bit more room. And before you start wrapping this layer, I forgot to mention that when you are done with the previous layers of flowers, move your fingers up to the top and the bottom of the flower, kind of squeezing the center petals up and in because we need that direction. These next 3 petals are going to go, some are going to go in and some are going to go out. First level in, second level out. And we're going to do our same 3 flower coffee filters, but we're going to make more detail. We're going to deepen the petals a little bit, and then we're going to give them a little bit of a scalloping at the end of each petal. Make sure you cut all the way through. For the final stage of the flower, we're going to apply a bead of glue to the center, and we're going to gather the base of the flower tighter, or we're going to let Now we're going to arrange our flower after this by putting the final row or the final petal on, and we're going to radiate the glue out so that it sticks to the higher up on the flower, sort of the mid section, and then we're going to pull our petals outward, starting with the bottom petal and then working our way up. The other ones we want to stay kind of facing up and in. This final level we want it to bunch out. And there's your flower. Make sure you keep the base or the bottom part of the flower where the stem and the flower meet nice and tight. We're going to just keep smoothing that down until you feel like it has a nice grip. Now we're going to take 1/2 inch strips of the light green coffee filters and join 2 leaves together, and then after we've wrapped it around the stem as well, we're going to join the leaves and the stem together with the same coffee filter strips. Now we're going to take, for the berries, about a 2-inch piece of coffee filter. You can use waste or just tear a piece and roll it up into a ball, and then take the same size and add some glue and press that into the center of that piece that you just ripped, and then take a 6 to 12 inch piece of wire and add that to the center of both of them and wrap around the excess to make the shape of a berry. Try to make it as round as possible, but the end complete shape won't matter because we're going to add glitter and glue. Now we're going to take a 1/4 inch strip of the red coffee filter, add a bead of glue, wrap it around the top of the berry, and then wrap it down as we did the floral wire on the leaves and on the stem of the rose. Now we're going to add some glue and then shake a little glitter, and we're going to stand these up. I used a recycled piece of styrofoam and stuck them in there. I made about 20 of them. I didn't want to lay them flat to dry so I didn't lose any of my glitter. And now this is what we have to work with. You can use these flowers in a multitude of applications all year round. You can use them in a taller vase, you can use them in a smaller vase, sitting in a nightstand maybe, or on a sink, or just to give them to friends as a housewarming gift or whatever. But this arrangement that I made, I used thrifted items that I had gathered from everywhere, and a few tea lights and some grapevine from the yard. I hope you try this budget friendly craft. It's really easy and it has so many things you can do with it. So I appreciate your time coming to see my video. I hope you come back again. I hope you try this. This is so much fun. And again, the flowers themselves, not even $5. And it was so much fun. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you come back. Like, comment, share, subscribe, turn on your notifications, and I'll see you next time. Bye.